Oh, hello there, it's your favorite fat Asian, and I want to talk to you guys about sending and receiving nudes. I know you guys are out there doing it, but you know what you don't want to receive? A message from a hacker letting you know that he's stolen said nudes and is going to blackmail you for it. Fucking Tinder. And come on, it's 2022, people. You know by now that you need a VPN. But beyond that, Surfshark also allows you to maximize all the streaming services that you're paying for. Of course, the obvious example you've heard about, Netflix and different region-locked content. But what if I also told you that you could also use Surfshark to access Venmo outside of the US? Or let's say you're a big UFC fan, but you can't get ESPN Plus where you are. Go ahead, set your location to the US, and boom, you got ESPN Plus. Or let's say you're in the States and you got NBA League Pass, but you know what's annoying about that? All the blackout games. But go ahead, move your location to the UK, and voila, blackout games, no more. And the cherry on top, if you aren't satisfied with the service, it's a money-back guaranteed refund. So there is literally no excuse for you to go ahead and sign up for Surfshark. The link is in the top of the doobly-doo, and if you use code BMO at checkout, you get 83% off, as well as 3 months free. And right now, they have a special promo from June 1st to July 4th. They're going to throw in free antivirus software. Double wrap your dirty dick on the internet. But do not double wrap your dick with condoms. That actually makes it so that they break easier. This is the real shit they need to teach you in school. So yeah, once again, use the link on the top. Use code BMO at checkout. And thank you once again for Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Now, back to the show. Last time on Dragon Ball Z. Since the retirement of Sir Alex Ferguson, Manchester United have fluctuated from, pretty mediocre to absolute meme factory. But with the finish of last season, signs were finally looking up. You gotta remember, with Ole Gunnar Solskjær at the helm, he was at least writing the culture behind the scenes. The Bruno Fernandes seemed like the first real difference-making transfer they've had in ages, and the team finished second in the league. There was room for optimism for our intrepid heroes going into the 2022 season. But then, the 2022 season actually happened, and it was an unmitigated disaster. Manchester United suffered the lowest point finish in the Premier League era. They had 3 different managers during the season, a toxic dressing room, and just from top to bottom, it was a complete horror show this season. So how did this go so wrong? Well, in this video, I will explore the continued collapse of Manchester United, the 2022 edition. Now let's just hop into it. Let's rewind the clock back to the summer of 2022. The Glazers, the owners of Manchester United, were coming off of a huge fiasco for spearheading the ill-fated Super League. This colossally blew up in their faces, with their fans storming Old Trafford in protest. They wanted blood. And desperately, the Glazers had to do something to get the fans and media off their backs. Luckily for them, the blueprint on how to get out of this mess was sitting right in front of them. Because you gotta remember, the Glazers are also the owner of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, an NFL team that the previous season signed a GOAT-type player in Tom Brady and then opened up their checkbooks to bring in a number of high-profile free agents. All of this resulted in the Bucs winning the Super Bowl that season. So I'm gonna let you guess what happened at Manchester United during the transfer window. Yup, they opened up their checkbooks and grabbed Jadon Sancho, the hottest English winger on the planet. Then they turned around and got Rafael Varane, a perennial winner at Real Madrid. And of course, in the most dramatic way possible, they bought a GOAT-type player to Old Trafford. And not just any GOAT. No. This was the prodigal son. CR7 was coming home. And yes, he was a little older, and yes, he was a little bit past his prime, but let me tell you something. As a Man United fan,
we don't care.
Because if a lot of the fans were honest with themselves, the re-signing of Cristiano Ronaldo is probably the happiest we've been as a Man United fan since Fergie left. It's like that or winning Europa, and re-signing Ronaldo might be better. And when all the promo rolled out on social media, when we finally heard the news that our Ronnie was coming home, it played perfectly in the Glazers' hand. Just like that, the Glazers were off the hook. Now, of course, people weren't happy that they were still the owners, but there wasn't any major boycotts. There wasn't any huge protests after that. In the end, our nostalgia fucked us over. But who could blame us, man? The prospect of hearing those old CR7 chants sung again, it was too enticing. And you know, there were thousands of fans who swore they would never buy a single piece of Manchester United merch again until the Glazers were gone. And you know what? I bet you a lot of them went out and got a Ronnie kit. And who could blame them? Because the kits were kind of nice this year. I'm not gonna lie. Especially that alt kit with the retro look. Ooh, yeah. You combine that with Cristiano Ronaldo coming back in that number 7, the number 7. You might as well have dangled fresh black tar heroin in front of an addict right out of rehab. We stood no chance. And if you were one of those fans, forgive yourself. You're only human. No one's gonna blame you. Being a Manchester United fan this past decade has seemingly been bereft of anything to celebrate. So when we got to see Ronaldo back in that red number 7 shirt, our nostalgia boners were so hard we could probably cut down a tree. And better than that, on paper, all these signings actually made sense for once. We had gone through summer after summer after summer of just head-scratching transfers. But in 2022, we got what we actually needed. We needed a true winger to provide with, so what did we do? We got the best young winger on the fucking planet. At least at the time, that's what we thought we were buying. Jury's still out on him. For the past decade, we've needed a center back, and what did we do? We went out and we bought Raphael Varane, a multiple Champions League winning center back. And the last piece of the puzzle, we needed a true striker up front that was more dynamic than Edison Cavani. And what did we get? We got Cristiano fucking Ronaldo. This was easily the best transfer window Manchester had made since the departure of Sir Alex Ferguson. And at the start of the season, it also looked like it was going to work out. Because you got to remember, the season opener saw Bruno Fernandes scoring a hat-trick, with Mason Greenwood and Fred adding 2 more to culminate in a 5-1 drubbing of their historic rivals in Leeds United. In that match alone, the much-maligned Paul Pogba tied a Premier League record with 4 assists in a single match. And all of this happened even before Ronnie took the pitch. And we didn't have to wait long for that, because Cristiano Ronaldo would make his second debut for the club on September 11th in a league match versus Newcastle. And as an American, that was easily the second most memorable September 11th of my life. And for the Old Trafford faithful, they had to wait till the verge of halftime to get what they craved most. When Mason Greenwood fired in a stinging long ranger that Freddie Woodman spilled right into the path of CR7, who gladly tapped it in, ran to the corner flag with a cheeky little tongue showing, and unleashed his first collective C at Old Trafford. And in that moment, every Manchester United fan over the age of 30 came a little in their pants, because it was fucking euphoric. As the TV announcer described it, close your eyes, and as if he had never left. Old Trafford obviously was in Fantasyland. Yes, it was a tap-in, but we didn't care. And yes, the elation was short-lived, because right after halftime, Newcastle scored the equalizer. But before the anxiety could set in, 6 minutes later, Luke Shaw plays in a perfectly weighted pass into Ronaldo, who still had enough pace to run away from the defenders. And what does he do? He silkily slots the ball right through the legs of the keeper. And when that ball squirted right underneath the nutsack of Woodman, the sound of Old Trafford was rapturous. Our Ronaldo was back. Our savior was back. And all was right in the world. And to put a cherry on top of that sundae, Bruno Fernandes finished Newcastle off with a worldie from 30 yards out, bending exquisitely away from the keeper right into the top left corner. United would go on to win 4-1 and return to the top of the table. And oh man, we thought we were going to win leagues, because the good times, they just kept on rolling to the next match. Manchester United opened up their Champions League campaign up against the Young Boys, and they were considered the weakest opponent of the group, and it seemed that way in the 13th minute, when a lovely Bruno Fernandes outside the boot cross came into Ronaldo at the back post, who yet again squeezed the ball through the keeper's legs to open up the score. But maybe that 13th minute was a premonition of things to come, because in the 34th minute, Aaron Wan-Bissaka was shown a straight red card for a nasty stamp on Christopher Martins, and being down to 10 men, Young Boys pounced, equalizing in the 66th minute. And then, in heartbreaking fashion, an ill-placed back pass by Lingard gifted Young Boys a go-ahead goal in the final moments of extra time. Devastating. Yes. Self-inflicted errors had done them in. But red cards happen! And this was only the first game of group play. It wasn't the end of the world. Sadly, though, this poor form would actually carry over into their next league match versus West Ham, because Man United would go down in the 30th minute when a Ben Rama shot deflected off new signee Raphael Varane and caught David De Gea wrong-footed. But 4 minutes later, another brilliant cross from Bruno Fernandes found Ronaldo at the back post, who actually missed his initial attempt but turned in the rebound. Seemingly, it looked like the Portugal-to-Portugal connection was gonna be a thing. And then, in the 88th minute, as if to atone for his mistake at Young Boys, Jesse Lingard scores a beauty top bins and gave no celebration in respect to West Ham, because he actually had a magical spell with them the season prior on loan. Now, this looked like the winner, but deep in injury time, a penalty was given for a Luke Shaw handball. West Ham actually substituted the old man Mark Noble in just to take the penalty shot. And as he stepped up and shot the ball, David De Gea dove to his left and got his right paw on the ball, punching it away. And this was David De Gea's first penalty save since October of 2014, but we didn't care. All we knew was 3 points to Manchester United. And little did we know at that time that this would actually be the peak of the Premier League season for us. Yes, Game 5. That would have been the peak. Because from this point on, it would be the beginning of the end for old Ole Gunnar Solskjær. Now, the next match was against Aston Villa, and it was a fairly cagey affair until the 88th minute when Courtney House headed in a goal from a corner. But in typical late drama fashion, United won a penalty in injury time, where Bruno Fernandes stepped up and skied a penalty over the bar. He honestly kicked that shit like it was an NFL field goal. I don't know what the fuck happened. And with that, Manchester United gave Aston Villa their first win at Old Trafford in any competition since 2009. But the drama would not stop there, because just a couple of days later, they had their second match in the Champions League, which was a rematch between the team that had beat them in the Europa final the season before. Of course, I'm talking about Villarreal. Now, Manchester United have always had problems with Spanish sides in the Champions League, and this was no different. They looked lost early on, and it seemed all but inevitable when they conceded in the 53rd minute. Then minutes later, off of a set piece, Alex Telles hits a volley from outside the box to equalize. And of course, because it was that type of season, in the very last minute of stoppage time, a desperation cross gets lobbed in, Lingard knocks it down into the path of who? Who else? Cristiano Ronaldo. And he didn't miss. Ronaldo ripped off his shirt and showed off those sparkling abs as Manchester United got their first win ever against Villarreal. And all it took was signing Cristiano Ronaldo. Who would have thought? Not me. It really did feel like a fairy tale at this point in the season. Ronaldo was back home, scoring last-minute winners seemingly every other week. And yes, we weren't on top of the league, but it didn't matter. We weren't thinking logically. We were thinking with our nostalgia dicks. And when you think with your dick, it blinds you to all the other cracks that were forming. Because they followed up this performance with a 1-1 draw against Everton, and then a sound 2-4 loss to Leicester in the league. And once back in the Champions League up against Atlanta, it didn't get much better, going down in the 15th minute and then conceding a corner header to give Atlanta a 2-0 lead with only 24 minutes passed. But as was the MO in the Ole tenure, United were a team of the second half. A brilliant ball from Bruno set up a cool finish from Rashford, and then a headed-on set piece found Harry Maguire free at the back post to lash home and equalize in the 75th minute. And then I'll let you guess what happened next. Did you guess the all-time Champions League goal scorer scoring yet another late winner? You bet your nutsack he did. Yet again, the savior of Manchester donned the cape and played hero, this time with a towering header to give United all 3 points. It simply was unbelievable as a fan. Storybook. The Ronaldo reunion was going better than a movie script. At this point, at least in the Champions League, we felt like a team of destiny. And then the match with Liverpool happened. It was an unmitigated embarrassment. The back line was shambolic from kickoff, giving away 2 simple goals by the 13th minute. And when Mo Salah made it 3-0, the frustration boiled over. Ronaldo should have been sent off for a violent kick-out on Curtis Jones, and right before halftime, Mo Salah got his double to make it 4-0. And sadly to note, this was only the second time in history that Manchester United have been down 4-0 by halftime. And in the second half, it went from bad to worse, as Mo Salah finished off his hat-trick just 5 minutes out of the half. And then Paul Pogba felt like his day was done, and was sent off for a 2-footed challenge on Naby Keita. The match mercifully ended at 5-0, the greatest home loss to Liverpool in history, and they did it in spectacular fashion. Now, they would right the ship against Spurs next week, but they followed that up with the Manchester Derby. And yeah, 2-0 was a flattering scoreline. If it wasn't for some of the heroics of David De Gea, it easily could have been 4-0. And it didn't help when his own defenders were taking shots at him. You know it's a bad day when Eric Bailly's own goal was the best piece of finishing on the day for United. And with 1 win in 5 league matches and 2 humiliating losses to their biggest rivals, Ole was now properly on the hot seat. But in the past, he had always seemed to pull a big win out of his ass to save his job. But this was the end of his 9 lives. A 4-1 drilling by mid-table Watford would seal his fate. He was finally, and mercifully, sacked in the morning. And looking back on Ole's tenure, I think we can safely say that he definitely brought a healthier culture back to the club and the dressing room. But on the pitch, United just looked like a group of talented individuals that lacked any consistent tactical identity. And the bottom line was tactically, he was never the caliber of manager needed to win at the highest level. And United simply had to move on. Michael Carrick was appointed interim manager, and fun fact, was the first English manager of Manchester United since 1986. And technically, he would have the best win percentage of the 3 managers this season, because he opened with a draw against Chelsea, and then in his second match, he got Manchester United's first win up against Arsenal since 2018. Maybe they should have given him a longer tenure. But sadly, he ended up leaving the club after that game, and technically would retire undefeated as manager of Manchester United. But his departure bookended the end of the Ole Gunnar Solskjær era and marked the start of the Ralf Rangnick era at Manchester United. And that's where I'm going to leave this video out, because in the next episode, we will go through one of the most disastrous tenures of any manager in Manchester United history. Whoopee. And oh hey, it's me, the formerly Fat Asian. Just want to say thank you for watching. If you did enjoy, go ahead, smush your hard right nipple into the like button. It only takes you a second, but it helps me out tremendously in this godforsaken algorithm. And of course, I'd like to thank all my patrons keeping me alive and well during all this global BS, and a personal shout out and thank you to my newest member of the $1 Army, CM382714. Thank you for showing me love all the way from Australia. Congrats on making the World Cup, by the way. Very epic. But yeah, until next time, remember, stay yourself, stay humble, and as always, stay thick.